Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to R Squared Technology. I'm your host Ryan, and let's get ready to SolidWorks. In our previous video, we were working out of the Beginner's Guide to SolidWorks 2022 Level 1. We were making the top cover, and we just finished that up. So there's going to be a link in the description below where you can 1. Pick up a copy of this book to follow along, and 2. View the prior part we made. But in today's video, we're going to start a new part, the offset shaft. So with that, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start a new part file as usual. You can reference the first video in this playlist to see how we use the ANSI cast alloy steel part document template to get to this point. And of course, once you create a new part, I always recommend saving first, and in this case you're going to save it as the offset shaft. Now on page 166 they request a different material from what we've been using in our prior parts. So we're going to come over here left into the feature tree, right click on the cast alloy steel material, go into edit material, and we're going to scroll down and find chrome stainless steel. Click apply and close. And now we can begin actual sketch for this part. So, section 5.1, page 166, we're going to right click on the right plane, and then we're going to choose a sketch. That'll bring the right plane normal to. And then we will from here start our sketch with a circle. We want the center point of the circle to be coincident of the origin, so click on the origin, drag out, and on the origin you should see a little green relation icon as such. We'll click OK, choose a smart dimension, click, drag out, and the dimension is 0.6, a little shy of 5/8. Now keep the dimension selected, and then on page 167, section 5.2, we're going to add a minimum tolerance to this. So over here in the properties, under tolerance and precision, we're going to choose a bilateral, and then we're going to choose the minimum variation to be 0.005, which is 5/1000ths of an inch. And then we'll set the precision to 3 decimal places because we want to be able to see and confirm that it has the minimum of 5/1000ths. From here we can close the dialog, and then section 5.3 on page 167 we can now go to the features tab, choose extrude boss base, and we'll choose the end condition blind and a length of 6.5 inches. Enter, click OK, and then we'll hit the space bar, bring it isometric, and hit Control S, save often. I recommend saving, again, after every sketch and or feature, but do save often. And now we're going to move on to page 168, section 5.4. Alright, on page 168, section 5.4, we're now going to do a revolve cut feature. But in order to do this, we're going to need a sketch profile. And currently, because this is a cylinder, there's no real edge we can grab here. So what we're going to do is come over here into the feature tree and right click on the front plane and create a sketch here. I'll hit Control 8 to bring it normal to, and use the center scroll wheel on the mouse to zoom in. And now we basically have an edge to work with that we can create this sketch off of. So first I'm going to come up here and choose a corner rectangle. If it's not the option, if it's say center rectangle, you just choose the drop down, select corner rectangle. Then I'm going to come down here and highlight this edge here, click, drag down, and then we'll click OK, and we're going to add some dimensions from the left end of the shaft to the left end of the rectangle here. Click, drag out, choose a 0.5 inch, and then this horizontal width we're going to choose 0.063, and then for our cut depth vertical line we're going to choose 0.063 as well. And then finally, an important thing is we need the axis of revolution. So come up to your line, choose a center line, select for the first point coincident of the origin, click and drag out. Make sure you have a horizontal relation in yellow here. Click and then select. We don't need to define a length for this center line here. And from here, we can go to section 5.5 on page 169 and choose the Features tab. And then we can choose the Revolve Cut feature. And then it's going to automatically select that center line as the axis of revolution, which is a default. And then our end condition is blind and our revolution is 360 degrees. We'll click OK. We'll then hit the space bar and bring it back isometric. Just click in the graphics view and I'll zoom in here so you can see the cut it made into the shaft. Now we'll go on to page 170, section 5.6. Okay, one quick thing we're going to do here before moving on to the next section is over here in the feature tree, we're going to rename our cut revolve, click on it once, click on it twice, and we're going to simply rename it groove. Click the little stoplight icon up at the top here to rebuild, hit Control S, and now from here we're going to go to section 5.6 on page 170, where they argue we could have created an additional cut revolve on the right end of the shaft using that same sketch. However, they want to demonstrate the use of an auxiliary plane. And to do so, we're going to come up here to the Features tab. We're going to go Reference Geometry. We're going to choose a plane. And then we're going to go all the way to page 175, section 5.7. I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to right click and choose Select Other, and we want to make sure that we have this face here selected. So I'll select that face, and then we're going to go to page 176, where at the top we're going to put in the dimension of 5 inches, and then we're going to click to flip the offset, check mark it here. And then I'm going to zoom out a bit so you can see where the plane is at. And then we are going to click OK. And of course, hit Control S. And that will bring us to section 5.8 on page 177. Alright, after creating the offset plane, we want to do just that. Rename it to offset plane. So over in the feature tree, click once, click twice. Rename it offset plane, and now that it is selected, we can simply right click and choose a sketch, and we're going to want to stay in the isometric view. So now we're on section 5.8 on page 177. We're going to zoom in on the cut revolve feature here, and then here in the sketch tab we're going to choose convert entities, and then we're going to want to select this edge here, highlighted orange, which is this internal diameter, and then we want to select this edge here, the external diameter of the shaft. And then I'm going to zoom it back out, and then I'm going to zoom back in on our offset plane, and I'm going to select OK in the convert entities, and just like that, we've created a fully defined sketch based on those two edge profiles that are already fully defined in the part. So now we're going to switch over to page 178, section 5.9, where we will then go to the Features tab, and we're going to choose an extruded cut, and we're going to do a blind end condition, and we're going to do a width, depth, height, however you want to call it, of 0.063 to just mimic the other side. And from here we will click OK, and one last thing we will also do here is click on the cut extrude feature and rename it offset groove. Click enter, and we'll click out of here. And another thing we can also do is right click on the offset plane of the feature tree and hide it. And then I will bring it back isometric here. So now we have the revolve cut on both sides of the shaft. We can hit Control S, and that brings us to page 179, section 5.10. And now to finish up with this part, we're going to add one last feature, which is going to be a hexagonal cut to the right end of the shaft here. And so on page 179, section 5.10, we'll start by press and hold the right mouse button and slightly drag in a given direction, and we're going to move over here to bring the right view normal to. Then we're going to come over to section 5.11 and 5.12 on page 180, where we will select this face here, and then we are going to come over into our sketch tab, and we're going to choose a polygon. Now from here we have quite a few options of what we can do. We're going to choose six-sided for hex, and we're also going to down here choose circumscribed circle. Then from here we're going to choose the origin, and we're going to click and start to drag out, and we're going to go from page 180 through 181 all the way to page 182, section 5.13. Now something also to keep in mind as far as circumscribed versus inscribed is going to be the construction circle or reference circle that creates the relation for this polygon. There's an example on page 181. So what we're going to do is click and drag outside the shaft for now, because we will fully define this with two relations simply based on our existing part. So we can go here to section 5.13 on page 182. After we've drawn our polygon six-sided here, we're going to close the dialog. We'll hit escape so that we don't draw another one. And then what we're going to do is press and hold the control key and select our construction circle here. And then we're going to select the edge of our shaft here. We're going to make it equal. Select OK. And then finally, we're just simply going to take any one of the lines or faces, edges if you will, of our hexagon. We'll select it, and we will simply give it a horizontal relation. And that will fully define this polygon sketch here. So that covers section 5.13 and 5.14 on page 182. And now we're going to move on to section 5.15 on page 183. So now that we have our polygon sketch completed, we're going to come to section 5.15 on page 183. And one thing I'm going to quickly do here is I'm going to click in the graphics area, hit the space bar, and bring it isometric so that we can see what's happening here in this next part. We're going to use a unique and seldom often powerful feature within the cut extrude. So with the sketch still open, we're going to come over here to our features tab, and we're going to choose the extruded cut feature, and we're going to do a depth of 0.5. And then what we're going to do is, now currently this is actually going to make it as if it was almost a socket inside of here, but we want it to cut the outside of the shaft. So we're actually going to check here, flip side to cut. And then from here we can select OK, and we can see that we have our hexagonal cut in the end of this shaft. And the last thing we're going to do is come again over to the feature tree. We're going to select the cut extrude, click on it one more time, and we're going to rename it hex cut. And we will hit the space bar, bring it back isometric, and Control S to save. And one last thing we'll do is put on Real View Graphics so you can see this chrome stainless steel effect. And that brings us to page 184, section 5.16. Now, technically, we did 5.16 in the very beginning where we changed the material to chrome stainless steel. So that is going to complete the offset shaft. That is going to wrap this part up. In next Friday's video, we will start a new part, the worm gear, which is on page 206. And until then, thank you for watching this video. Take care, and I hope to see you in next Friday's video.